Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Naresh Mago, and with me is Meenakshi Bahuguna with the evening news. The headlines. Rafale fighter aircraft formally inducted in Indian Air Force. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh says strengthening defense is aimed at achieving international peace and stability. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe review cooperation under Indo-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership Framework. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to meet his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet in Moscow. Recovery rate of COVID-19 patients reaches 77.74%, and in US Open tennis, local Serena Williams and Victoria Azarenka from Belarus to clash in the semi-finals. Rafale fighter aircraft was formally inducted into the Indian Air Force today at a formal function at Air Force Station Ambala. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and Florence Parly, Minister of the Armed Forces of France, graced the occasion. Speaking on the occasion, the Defense Minister said, "The induction of Rafale is a historic moment and a very important milestone in the history of the IAF."
हमारे मित्र देश फ्रांस के साथ राफेल डील भारत की नेशनल सिक्योरिटी में एक गेम चेंजर है। इसका लॉन्ग रेंज ऑपरेशन, अपने वजन के बराबर आर्मामेंट और एडिशनल फ्यूल कैरी करने की कैपेसिटी, शॉर्ट लैंडिंग ग्राउंड से ऑपरेट करने की एबिलिटी, हाई स्पीड जैसी खूबियां इसे दुनिया के बेस्ट एयरक्राफ्ट में से एक बनाती हैं। अपनी मल्टी रोल कैपेबिलिटीज के साथ यह दुश्मनों के खिलाफ अचूक कार्रवाई करने में भी पूरी तरह से सक्षम है।
Mr. Singh reiterated the resolve of not compromising India's sovereignty and territorial integrity under any circumstances.
आज इनका इंडक्शन पूरी दुनिया, खासकर हमारी संप्रभुता की ओर उठी निगाहों के लिए एक बड़ा और कड़ा संदेश है। हमारी सीमाओं पर जिस तरह का माहौल हाल के दिनों में बना है, या मैं सीधा कहूं कि बनाया गया है, उनके लिहाज से यह इंडक्शन बहुत ही अहम है। यह अपनी सीमाई सुरक्षा और क्षेत्रीय अखंडता को बनाए रखने के लिए सरकार के कमिटमेंट का भी एक बड़ा उदाहरण प्रस्तुत करता है।
Mr. Singh also said strengthening defense is aimed at achieving international peace and stability, and India does not want to take any step that can endanger international peace. Terming that the Rafale induction reflected close India-France strategic relations, Mr. Singh said both countries have cooperated closely in a number of areas to enhance defense cooperation. The minister also pitched for French investments in the Indian defense manufacturing sector. He congratulated the IAF personnel for the swift and decisive action taken by them near the LAC recently. He said the rapid deployment of IAF assets at forward bases created a trust that the nation's Air Force was fully prepared to meet its operational obligations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today held a telephonic conversation with his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe. Mr. Modi expressed his gratitude to Mr. Abe for his personal commitment and leadership in greatly strengthening the relationship between the two countries. Reaffirming their mutual trust and friendship, the two leaders recalled their shared experiences during visits to each other's countries. The two leaders reviewed the status of ongoing cooperation, including the Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail project under the framework of the India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership. They agreed that the strong and enduring partnership between the two countries will play a critical role in charting the course for the global community in the post-COVID world. They welcomed the signing of the agreement on reciprocal provision of supplies and services between the Indian Armed Forces and the Self-Defense Forces of Japan. The leaders concurred that the agreement will further enhance the depth of defense cooperation between the two countries and contribute to peace and security in the Indo-Pacific region.
Defense Minister Rajnath Singh held discussions with his French counterpart Florence Parly today. In a tweet, Mr. Singh said they have decided to continue working on identified industrial areas and issues of military-to-military cooperation. He has invited French manufacturers to invest in India's defense corridors. The minister said India and France have a lot in common as two of the great democracies of the world, and India looks forward to enhance the bilateral relationship even further. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is meeting Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi this evening on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO meet in Russia. Briefing media this evening virtually, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said Dr. Jaishankar will be discussing the issue of ongoing standoff in eastern Ladakh with his Chinese counterpart.
Both India and China are in regular touch through diplomatic and military channels to resolve the situation. And this was also the consensus when the two defense ministers met. We have reiterated several times in the past, Indian side is committed to resolving the current situation on the India-China border through peaceful negotiations.
The Council of Foreign Ministers meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization this evening reviewed preparations for the forthcoming SCO summit, as well as exchanged views on regional and international issues. This was stated by External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava, who was briefing media virtually this evening.
The Council for Foreign Ministers meeting reviewed preparations for the forthcoming summit and as well as exchanged views on regional and international issues. This meeting was followed by a lunch of the RIC foreign ministers. EM also had bilateral meetings earlier. He met the Kyrgyz Republic foreign minister and the foreign minister of Tajikistan yesterday. Both countries, as you would know, are our strategic partners, and during these meetings, ways to further enhance our strategic partnership was discussed. Today morning, EM had bilateral meetings with Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan before he joined the Council for Foreign Ministers meeting.
This is the third Council for Foreign Ministers meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which India is attending as a full member. The spokesperson said Dr. Jaishankar met Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov yesterday. He said India has a special and privileged partnership with Russia, and this year marks 20 years of this strategic partnership.
This was the first physical meeting after the COVID situation, and there was excellent discussion on bilateral matters, on regional developments and international issues of concern. The two ministers also followed up on outcomes of PM's visit to Vladivostok for the 5th Eastern Economic Forum in September 2019. In this meeting, bilateral economic issues and cooperation in the development of Far Eastern region of Russia was also discussed between the two ministers, and we also discussed cooperation in nuclear and space sectors. The two ministers agreed to work closely in the UN Security Council during India's forthcoming tenure as the non-permanent member.
Later this year, India is scheduled to host the meeting of Council of Heads of Government CHG of Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO on 29th and 30th November 2020 in New Delhi. This will be the first Prime Minister level meeting to be hosted by India since its elevation as a full member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. More from Prasar Bharati correspondent in Beijing.
India will also be hosting two ministerial level meetings of SCO member states. The Justice Ministers and the Trade Ministers are scheduled to meet before the heads of government meet. Trade Ministers are expected to meet in last week of October, where India will launch SCO Startup Forum. All the member states have supported India's initiatives in the run-up to the heads of government meet in New Delhi. This affords India an opportunity to contribute in a substantive way to the trade and economic agenda of the SCO, which has emerged as a key regional organization in the Eurasian space in the past 2 decades of its existence. India attaches great importance to SCO as it provides an excellent platform for it to connect with its extended neighborhood. Anshuman Mishra for AIR News, Beijing.
A total of 13.74 lakh Indians have been repatriated so far through different modes of the Vande Bharat mission, including Air India, private and foreign carriers, chartered flights, naval ships, and land border crossings. The Phase 6 of Vande Bharat mission became operational on 1st September. Briefing the media, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said 1,007 international flights have been scheduled to operate during this month. He said over 2 lakh people are expected to be repatriated.
270 international flights have already been operated from GCC countries, from Jordan, from Afghanistan, from Maldives, China, Thailand, US, UK, Canada, France, Germany, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines and Australia. Bilateral travel bubble arrangements form the bulk of this phase, and we are operating such arrangements from 11 countries.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Rafale fighter aircraft formally inducted in Indian Air Force. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says strengthening defence is aimed at achieving international peace and stability. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe review cooperation under India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership Framework. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to meet his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet in Moscow. Recovery rate of COVID-19 patients reaches 77.74%. And in US Open tennis, local Serena Williams and Victoria Azarenka from Belarus to clash in the semi-finals. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
All India Radio presents World News. News and views from across the globe. What happened? What is up next? The newsmakers and the highlights of the day. Every day at 10:20 p.m. in the night. On 100.1 FM, All India Radio.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today digitally launched the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana PMMSY. He also launched the eGopala app, a comprehensive breed improvement marketplace and information portal for direct use of farmers. On the occasion, several other initiatives in the fisheries and animal husbandry sectors in Bihar were also launched by the Prime Minister. The Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana is a flagship scheme for focused and sustainable development of the fisheries sector in the country. Speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister said over 20,000 crore rupees will be spent under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana in the next 4 to 5 years.
21 राज्यों में इस योजना का शुभारंभ हो रहा है। अगले 4-5 वर्षों में इस पर 20,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा खर्च किए जाएंगे। इसमें से आज 1,700 करोड़ रुपए का काम हो रहा है। इसी के तहत ही बिहार के पटना, पूर्णिया, सीतामढ़ी, मधेपुरा, किशनगंज और समस्तीपुर में अनेक सुविधाओं का लोकार्पण और शिलान्यास किया गया है। इससे मछली उत्पादकों को नया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मिलेगा, आधुनिक उपकरण मिलेंगे, नया मार्केट भी मिलेगा।
The Prime Minister said the scheme aims to make villages the strength of 21st century India.
जितनी भी ये योजनाएं शुरू हुई हैं, उनके पीछे की सोच ही यही है कि हमारे गांव 21वीं सदी के भारत, आत्मनिर्भर भारत की ताकत बने, ऊर्जा बने। कोशिश ये है कि अब इस सदी में ब्लू रिवॉल्यूशन यानी मछली पालन से जुड़े काम, व्हाइट रिवॉल्यूशन यानी डेयरी से जुड़े काम, स्वीट रिवॉल्यूशन यानी शहद उत्पादन से जुड़े काम हमारे गांवों को और समृद्ध और सशक्त करें।
Mr. Modi said for the first time such a big scheme has been prepared for the fisheries sector.
मछली से जुड़े व्यापार कारोबार को देखने के लिए अब अलग से मंत्रालय भी बनाया गया है। इससे भी हमारे मछुआरे साथियों को, मछली के पालन और व्यापार से जुड़े साथियों को सुविधा हो रही है। लक्ष्य ये भी है कि आने वाले 3-4 साल में मछली निर्यात को 2 गुना किया जाए। इससे सिर्फ फिशरीज सेक्टर में ही रोजगार के लाखों नए अवसर पैदा होंगे।
The Prime Minister said the eGopala app will be a digital medium which will help livestock owners to choose advanced livestock. Mr. Modi appealed to people to maintain precautionary measures during the corona time. He said people should not take the corona pandemic lightly. Stressing on social distancing and wearing masks, he said it will take time for development of a corona vaccine, but people can secure themselves by adopting the social vaccine. Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan today dedicated 56 CNG stations to the nation. Speaking on the occasion, the minister said that in the last 6 years, the number of CNG stations has gone up from 947 to over 2,300. He said that presently, more than 400 districts of the country are being covered by the city gas distribution network. Mr. Pradhan said that India is moving towards becoming a gas-based economy. He said that the government is committed to providing infrastructure to facilitate this and 17,000-kilometer long pipeline is being laid for the purpose. He said that places like northeastern states and the eastern India, which were deprived of the access to gas, are also being covered.
Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari has approved a proposal to construct the 120-kilometer Munger-Bhagalpur-Tripti-Khahal-Gaon concrete road on National Highway 80 in Bihar. This will be a 2-lane road with paved shoulders, which will also be a 4-lane wide at certain stretches. Mr. Gadkari has directed officials to begin work on this road within next 3 months. He also ordered release of 20 crore rupees for immediate repair works on this section. The COVID-19 recovery rate has reached 77.74%. In all, 72,939 people recovered from coronavirus and were discharged from hospitals during the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry said the total number of recoveries has reached 34,71,783. It said the constant increase in recoveries has ensured that the actual caseload of the country is reduced and currently comprises only 20.58% of the total positive cases. Effective implementation of test, track and treat approach has led to higher recoveries and lower fatality. Currently, India's case fatality rate is at 1.68%. A total of 95,735 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours in the country. The total number of positive cases has now reached 44,65,863. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 9,19,018. In the last 24 hours, 1,172 deaths have been reported, taking the toll to 75,062.
The Ministry of Health has issued revised standard operating procedure on preventive measures to be followed to contain the spread of COVID-19 while conducting examinations. The ministry said the generic measures include simple public health measures that are to be followed by staff, students and parents in these places at all times. The measures include physical distancing of at least 6 feet, use of face covers, practicing frequent hand washing with soap, use of alcohol-based hand sanitizers, and use of Arogya Setu app. All universities, educational institutions, examination conducting authorities, and examination centers will specifically ensure that only those examination centers which are outside the containment zone be allowed to function. They may plan out the examination schedule in a staggered manner so as to avoid overcrowding at any examination center on any day. The recovery rate of COVID patients in Delhi stands at 85.36% today. The city recorded recovery of 2,637 patients in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of recovered patients till date to 1,75,400. With increased testing, the city has achieved the remarkable feat of conducting 1,03,269 corona tests per million of its population. A total of 4,308 new confirmed cases of coronavirus were reported in the national capital in the last 24 hours. With this, the total number of COVID cases in the city has reached 205,482.
In Puducherry, the recovery rate from COVID-19 stands at 72.23% and the fatality rate is 1.90%. 452 persons were tested positive and 6 persons died in the Union Territory today, leaving 4,794 active cases here. More from our correspondent.
According to the Health Department, 288 new cases were reported in Puducherry, 123 in Karaikal, 38 in Yanam and 3 in Mahe region. As many as 422 persons were discharged from various hospitals. Presently, 1,689 persons are being treated in various hospitals and another 3,105 positive cases are under home isolation. So far, 18,536 persons were infected by the virus, of which 13,389 were treated and discharged and 353 died, leaving 4,794 active cases in Puducherry. Chandramohan, Air News, Puducherry.
Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa has directed district administration to increase COVID-19 testing and tracking of vulnerable members of the society. Addressing the Deputy Commissioners and CEOs of all the districts through video conference today, the Chief Minister said concerted efforts should be made by district administration to contain the pandemic. He informed that 900 specialist doctors will be deputed to the districts in a couple of days. State's Medical Education Minister Dr. K. Sudhakar said that the death rate in the state is 1.62% and efforts are on to reduce it to below 1%. The minister said that the government has hiked stipend of medical PG students and resident doctors by 40%.
In our series, Experts Speak on All India Radio, we bring you the views of leading medical experts on COVID-19. Talking to AIR News, Director at AIIMS in Delhi, Dr. Randeep Guleria advised people to aggressively follow social distancing and hand hygiene norms to check the spread of COVID-19 infection.
Regular hand washing should be done. You should avoid going to crowded places because if someone in the crowd is coughing and has the infection, he can spread to others. Then if any member in your family has fever, cough, cold, he should stay at home and avoid going out so that he doesn't spread the infection to other people in the community.
Dr. Anant Mohan, Head of Pulmonary Medicine AIIMS, advised people to not take medicine like hydroxychloroquine or anti-malarial drugs without a prescription by a doctor.
That as of now, we stick to our basic principles of social distancing, hygiene, cough etiquettes. Apart from that, efforts are ongoing in the scientific community to try and find out some good therapies, medicines or vaccines. So that will take its due course and they will come. But till that time, efforts should be to try and reduce the death rate from this disease, which fortunately is not very high, but we should try and get it down to the minimum possible.
Scientists at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, TIFR, jointly with the team at Indian Institute of Science, have developed a simulation model for the city of Mumbai to analyze the rate of infection spread of COVID-19. Here is more from our correspondent.
The mathematical projection on the ongoing COVID-19 worked out by TIFR scientists says that the simulation model gives a fairly accurate idea about the spread of the disease. Dr. Sandeep Juneja from the Computer Science Department of TIFR told AIR that the fatalities rate, which saw a peak in the month of June and July in Mumbai, has been coming down since. Dr. Juneja also says that there won't be much cases reported in January-February 2021 and thereafter, suggesting that the city population has achieved herd immunity. It will be a stage where by and large people would have got infected. Dr. Juneja, however, says that there is a caveat to it, as the scientists currently believe that reinfection will remain rare. If that changes, then the projections will no longer hold the ground. Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
Uttar Pradesh government has constituted a 3-member special investigation team, SIT, to probe into the purchase of health equipment and sanitizers allegedly at higher prices in several districts. According to press release issued by Home Department, the probe team will submit its report in 10 days. On the other hand, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath today ordered the formation of the SIT as the authorities in Sultanpur, Ghazipur and other districts have been accused of buying pulse oximeters and infrared thermometers at more than the market cost.
Veteran actor and former BJP MP Paresh Rawal was appointed as chairperson of the National School of Drama, NSD, India's premier theatre institute today. Union Minister of Culture Prahlad Patel said on Twitter that renowned artist Paresh Rawal has been appointed as chairman of National School of Drama by Rashtrapati Bhavan. Rawal, 65, comes with years of experience in both cinema and theatre. The National Film Award-winning actor said his vision is to reach out to more people through quality theatre. Former Union Minister Raghuvansh Prasad Singh resigned from Rashtriya Janata Dal today. Earlier, the senior leader had resigned from the post of National Vice President of the party. He is currently undergoing corona treatment at AIIMS, Delhi. Mr. Singh has sent his resignation letter to party President Lalu Prasad.
Under Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat scheme, Goa is paired with Jharkhand. Lot of cultural exchange activities are happening on this front. During lockdown, the intensity of program was less and focus was laid more on virtual events. Yogesh Joshi, official at Directorate of Art and Culture, Panaji, spoke about details of the ongoing programs.
Lots of exchange projects are on between Goa and Jharkhand. The translation projects has already initiated. Jharkhandi literature is being translated into Konkani in Goa by Dr. Sonia Shirsat and Jilu Gaonkar. Also, Konkani literature is being translated into Jharkhandi language in their state. More projects are in pipeline and will be launched soon after pandemic wave recedes. These projects include cooperation between Goa and Jharkhand on tourism and sports field. Recently, a webinar was held between these two states wherein experts from both the states participated.
And now more from our correspondent.
Goan artists have already visited Jharkhand state and presented programs there that included folk dances and folk songs from Goa. They were lauded by the local artists in Jharkhand. More of such exchange activities and projects are being planned between Goa and Jharkhand in the near future. Mukesh Thadi, AIR News, Panaji, Goa.
Home Minister Amit Shah lauded the government's decision to allow Harmandir Sahib to receive foreign funding under Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010. In a tweet, the Home Minister said the government's decision is a path-breaking move and it will once again showcase the outstanding spirit of service of the Sikh community. Home Ministry had yesterday approved registration of Sri Harmandir Sahib under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010, allowing it to receive foreign funding.
Serena Williams of the United States and Victoria Azarenka from Belarus will meet in the semi-finals of the US Open. In the quarterfinals, Serena had to come back from a set and a breakdown to storm to a 4-6, 6-3, 6-2 win against Bulgaria's Svetlana Pironkova, while Victoria Azarenka triumphed against 16th seed Elise Mertens of Belgium 6-1, 6-0. In the men's quarterfinals, second seed Dominic Thiem of Austria eased past Australian Alex de Minaur, while third seed Daniil Medvedev of Russia defeated compatriot Andrei Rublev. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi will have a mainly clear sky. It will have a minimum temperature of 25 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 35 degrees. In Mumbai, there will be a generally cloudy sky with light rain. The minimum temperature will be 27 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 34 degrees. Chennai will have a generally cloudy sky. The temperature will hover between 25 and 33 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will witness a partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. The minimum temperature in the metropolis will be around 28 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 34 degrees. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the minimum temperature will be 24 degrees Celsius in Jammu, while the maximum will be around 35. The city will have a mainly clear sky. Srinagar will also have a mainly clear sky, the minimum temperature being 13 and maximum 31 degrees Celsius. Ladakh will have a mainly clear sky. The temperature will hover between 9 and 28 degrees Celsius. In Gilgit, the temperature will hover between 15 and 33 degrees Celsius. It will have a mainly clear sky. In Muzaffarabad, there will be mainly clear sky. The temperature will hover between 20 and 35 degrees Celsius. In Dehradun, the temperature will hover between 24 and 33 degrees Celsius, with the city experiencing a partly cloudy sky with possibility of development of thunder and lightning. And now, before we close, the headlines once again. Rafale fighter aircraft formally inducted in Indian Air Force. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh says strengthening defense is aimed at achieving international peace and stability. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe review cooperation under India-Japan Special Strategic and Global Partnership Framework. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to meet his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet in Moscow. recovery rate of COVID-19 patients reaches 77.74%. And in US Open tennis, locals Serena Williams and Victoria Azarenka of Belarus to clash in the semi-finals. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.